Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is getting bombarded with criticism, not only at home, but on the international stage, holding Canada up for ridicule. While at home, freedom-loving Canadian truckers are making history. Their determination to protest vaccine mandates is inspiring people around the world to say no to government overreach. From the US to Europe to Australia and New Zealand, truckers are standing in solidarity and telling their governments that enough is enough. Give us back our liberty. Okay, let's get into it. The Canadian truckers' protest has been going on for 11 days. It has spread to the United States, the United Kingdom, and many other countries. In Ottawa, police announced 7 arrests and the mayor declared a state of emergency, but the truckers and their supporters said they will not go away until the government lifts all COVID-19 restrictions. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau returned to Ottawa after isolating for a week. He addressed an emergency session in the House of Commons saying it has to stop. Canadians know the way to get through this is continuing to listen to science, continuing to lean on each other. He promised federal government support with whatever resources the province and city needs, but he didn't elaborate what measures might be planned. Daryl, a veteran at the protest, said Canada's global reputation is being undermined by Trudeau hiding from peaceful protesters.
I didn't serve this country to be bullied by a prime minister that ran away like a chicken. Who runs away from their people? It's insane. If I was in the army right now, I'd be contemplating on leaving just because our leadership, our military, our country will have no credibility because of him. None whatsoever. And that's sad.
New interim Conservative Party leader Candice Bergen confronted Trudeau on Monday.
I look at our country, Mr. Speaker, and I've never seen it as divided as it is now under this Prime Minister, whether it's regional lines, whether it's ethnic lines, whether it's people's healthcare choices. This country is more divided than ever.
She asked Trudeau if he is responsible for creating such a divided country.
And the Prime Minister talks about things like respecting each other, and we are not fighting against each other, we are fighting a virus. And I have 2 very simple questions for him. When he decided to introduce the vaccine mandate, he believed it was the right thing to do. Does he regret calling people names who didn't take the vaccine? Does he regret calling people misogynist and racist and just escalating and poking sticks at them and being so divisive to individual Canadians that he might not disagree with, that he might have thought were wrong? Does he regret that?
She also asked Trudeau if he sincerely wants to solve this issue and find a solution.
And will he agree to meet with the leaders here, the other opposition leaders and myself, so that we can talk about a solution in the way that he's described? Mr. Speaker, we are in uncharted territory. We are at a crisis point, not only with what's going on out the doors and across the country, but the country overall. And so much of it is because of the things that he has said and done. Does he regret his words? And will he work with us so that we can find some resolution? Thank you.
Right, Honourable Prime.
Trudeau did not answer either question and insisted that the protests only represent a small portion of the Canadian population. Elsewhere in Canada, the Freedom Convoy protests have occurred along the US-Canada border and major cities such as Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. Truckers from Canada blocked the Ambassador Bridge, connecting Canada and the US on Monday. Located between Windsor, Ontario and Detroit, Michigan, the bridge is the busiest international crossing in North America. More than 25% of trade between the 2 countries passes through here. Canadian trucker Drogan Yanutovich told Detroit local media he supports the protesters even though he was stuck with his load of auto parts near the bridge entrance. He said that the government in Canada is not good for the Canadian people. Because of that, I'm with those guys even if I'm fully vaccinated. Alaska truckers made their own Alaska Freedom Convoy on Sunday in support of the Canadian truckers. Senator Ted Cruz said on Fox News, "The Canadian truckers are heroes. They are patriots, and they are marching for your freedom and for my freedom." Cruz continued, "They're defending Canada, but they're defending America as well. This is courage on display that the government doesn't have the right to force you to comply with their arbitrary mandates, and they're standing up for freedom. And of course, big government hates it and is trying to crush them." Even Canadian mainstream media is starting to express their displeasure with Trudeau. Toronto Sun columnist Brian Lilly criticized Trudeau in his article in the Toronto Sun on Tuesday. He said, "I have to wonder what nasty words Justin Trudeau will use to describe the protesters who targeted the Ambassador Bridge." Lilly berated Trudeau for calling these people names because they don't agree with him. It seems to Lilly that this is Trudeau's standard response. He accuses Trudeau of distorting facts and avoiding contradictions. Lilly wrote, "He didn't acknowledge any of the issues raised by the people outside or those who have donated and supported their cause across the country. He just dismissed them all as bigots." The Sun reporter added, "His total response to thousands of people outside is to reference a single Nazi and Confederate flag that showed up briefly more than a week ago." Lilly saw Trudeau as playing political games to get more votes. He said that Trudeau is trying to build his support against the protesters. This was the direct opposite of what he said in 2020 about the farmers protesting in India. Lilly concluded, "Yelling racist won't fix this problem. Perhaps it's time for Trudeau to offer the same dialogue to Canadian protesters as he offered to Indian protesters." I want to take a moment to thank you all for your support of Front Page. Your donation and your membership subscription help us to keep telling the truth, and every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and if you have already subscribed, please double check to make sure that you are still subscribed. We've heard from many of our viewers that they don't get the notifications for our videos anymore, so please follow us on Telegram, Gab, and Getter for the latest updates. All the links are in the description below. Okay, let's get back into it. Inspired by Canadian truckers, the Freedom Convoy protests have spread around the world, with truck driver groups in the Netherlands, Austria, the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand all organizing similar protests. Truckers around the world are taking to the road to deliver a clear message: stop mandatory vaccinations. A group of truckers in the U.S. is planning a convoy from California to Washington, D.C. Brian Braze, a co-organizer for the U.S. protest, told Fox News on Sunday, "I think you're starting to see what will become a big global movement to end these mandates. It's a violation of your human rights to be mandated to take this vaccine. If you want it, go get it. But being mandated to get it, we're standing up against that. We think it's wrong." Braze estimates that the U.S. protest will be as large as, if not larger than, the one in Canada. Canada has inspired the entire world to stand up. Braze said, "We're so proud of our Canadian brothers and sisters in the trucking industry." He also said that truckers across the world, from Finland to Australia, have called him to coordinate and express support. Braze said, "The truck drivers are uniting worldwide." The Scottish Daily Express reported that British truckers will demonstrate in Glasgow, Scotland, then they will drive to the capital, Edinburgh, and then on to London. The Freedom Convoy will also depart from the British cities of Manchester, Exeter, Bristol, and Bournemouth, as well as cities in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. According to the Brussels Times, the World Freedom Convoy is planning a protest on Signal, which is a private messenger app. In about a week, 40,000 people have joined the Signal chat. More protesters from European countries will drive to Brussels on February 14th. Aaron Lemmer, an Austrian business owner and protest organizer, said that a convoy of 2,500 vehicles will travel to Vienna on February 13th. They are demanding that the government drop all restrictions and resign. Austrian lawmakers last Thursday approved a measure forcing Austrians to get the COVID-19 vaccine or face a fine of $670 up to $4,100. Only pregnant women, people who have contracted the virus within the past 6 months, and those with medical exemptions can escape the order. At least 1,000 people have gathered near the Australian Parliament to protest against mandatory vaccination and other pandemic restrictions. The Canberra Times reported on Saturday, organizers are calling on 5 million Australians to gather in the capital before Parliament resumes on February 8th. According to the New Zealand Herald, a large number of New Zealanders opposed to the pandemic prevention measures took trucks to the streets of the capital, Wellington, to express their strong opposition. A convoy of truckers from both the North Island and the South Island are scheduled to meet in Wellington. Hundreds of vehicles were parked on the roads around the Parliament building with signs reading, "Give us back our freedom," and "Coercion is not consent." Why are the Canadian truckers' protests resonating globally? Jay Cameron, Director of Litigation at the Justice Centre for Constitutional Freedoms, which represents Canada's Freedom Convoy, explains, "There is no mystery as to why protests are spreading. Humanity is objecting en masse to the abuse of bureaucratic tyrants who for 2 years have suspended the checks and balances which are intended to protect the citizenry." He went on to say that people have lost jobs. They have lost the freedom of speech, religion, and assembly, and their lives have been sidelined. Cameron added, "And now the people are making their voices heard in peaceful but firm protest against their abusers. They are saying enough." Saskatchewan and Alberta are the first two provinces in Canada to lift part of their pandemic restrictions. On Tuesday, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney announced the end to the COVID vaccine passport system in his province. After February 8th midnight, no proof of vaccine is required to enter bars, restaurants, and entertainment venues. Mask mandates for children in schools end next week on February 14th. On Tuesday, Saskatchewan also announced it will end its vaccine passport system on Monday, February 14th. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe called on the people of the province to heal the divisions caused by the vaccine passport system. He said the system has effectively created two classes of citizenry.
It's time for us also to heal the divisions in our communities over vaccination. Those divisions are in our families, they're in our communities, but they are across our province and they're across this nation. It's time for us to come together as families, as friends, as communities, and as a province and as a nation, and it's time for us to reach out and support one another.
Moe said that it's time to take the next step in policy. The benefits of the vaccine passport no longer outweigh the costs. It's time to end proof of vaccination. The province's other public health orders will not be renewed either after they expire at the end of February. This includes the mandatory self-quarantine of those infected with COVID-19. Instead, it will be up to people to choose and to manage their own health risks.
Whenever someone is doing their own personal risk assessment, which we have asked them to do in this province for a period of time now, they're doing that assessment for themselves, possibly for their family, and they may come back with a different decision than what you might arrive at. And that different conclusion, albeit maybe different from where you have landed, should not be judged. It should be respected and it should be accepted.
Scott Moe explained that the province's policy shift is based on the opinions of the people of the province. Next, I want to take a moment to read and respond to some of your comments. The first comment is from our episode Dispelling the Lies of the Mainstream Media that were put on the truckers. If you haven't seen that episode, the link is in the description below. Guillaume Basque wrote, "The media is subsidized by the Canadian government, and it has been on the decline for the past 25 years, so connect the dots. Excellent show as always. Thanks, Scott, and everybody on this team who make this show possible." Thanks, Guillaume. That's a great point. That is why it's important to have independent media that is not afraid to point out what's going on in the government, and this is what we strive to do at Front Page. If you're able to, please support us by donating so we can continue to tell you the truth. Ren C. commented, "This shows that many Canadian citizens are good people and peaceful people, except those who go against them, like mainstream media and the far left, etc. People can see the truth themselves." Good point, Ren Z. We can tell that Canadians are good, kind-hearted people. Go Truckers, go. Rita Elgart commented, "Thank you for clarifying the lies spread by MSM. Our independent journalists here in Canada have been censured." Thanks, Rita. I'm sorry to hear about the independent journalists in Canada. The truth will prevail in the end. The people are joining together now more than ever. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.